I'm ready, and she's ready, and you're ready. But, we have to hear the music first. I'll see you in a second. Hey, welcome to the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. I know you guys are excited because you're seeing, oh my God, Isabelle is here. Yes, she is, and we'll be right with her. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vicki Helm. We go live Monday through Friday. We share tips, tools, techniques, inspiration, motivation, and education is going to help you create thrivability. Now, today is one of the most special, important days of the Coffee Break Show history. And I want to really get into the nitty-gritty with you. And I want you to know this is also brought to you by Metadime Digital Network. This is the network where you can see all the shows that you want, the live shows every day, where we bring experts, the biggest, greatest experts into your world. And they share with you in ways that you can help you have more success, have more everything that you want. I see you guys popping in. Do me a favor, put your name down below and be part of the conversation. Isabelle, my friend, welcome. Thank you for being here on the show again.
Yay!
I'm so excited.
It's one of my favorite things to do in my life. So I'll say yes anytime you ask me.
Thank you. It's interesting that she's here because we have this really long friendship. And B, we have this really long habit of being in the moment and with our conversations, taking the topic and stretching it. I know that we're going to have this conversation today where we are going to be talking not just conscious business. Everybody's like, conscious business. Great. What exactly does that mean? Mm-hmm. How do we bring consciousness into business? Now, I want to let you know what we're talking about today on the Coffee Break Show. This is a breakthrough conversation that we're having, is something that I've talked with Isabelle about for about 30 years now. I mean, man, it's just so far back. I don't even want to talk about how long it's back. You guys put your name down below. I see you popping on. Just come on and say hello. Now, if you're listening on Pandora or you're listening on Spotify or iHeartRadio, good morning, Larissa. In the house, Isabelle and everyone, happy Wednesday. Thank you all the way from Australia. It's dark. Go dark 30 in the morning. So in this conversation, I'm going to give away, and we're going to talk about one of the single best secrets that we have used to build our life, to build our success, to build our wealth, to build our relationships. And it is one of the most breakthrough conversations, consciousness inside your business. Welcome to the show, my friend. Thank you for being here. And I just want to say good morning to everyone there. Good morning, Isabelle. Everybody knows she's on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for.
I love the welcoming.
Yeah, so let's dive right in. I want to hear, and I want to let you know, we didn't plan this. There's no preconceived questions. This is an open, in the moment conversation. And I want to talk about, because I know you do this. I want to talk about consciousness inside your business, why it's so important, how you even came about understanding it. How did it start? How did you understand it? And also, can we start with just your definition of consciousness inside your business?
See,
I know a lot of questions all at once.
And it's actually they're such big questions. To me, consciousness, I think the way I would explain consciousness is who we are at our core, right? It's like we can call it the witness, we can call it awareness, we can call it love, we can call it source, we can call it God. I mean, there's infinite names for it depending on what religion, what spirituality, whatever you are. So I want to be precise because this might not be all of what you think consciousness is. But in my definition, it is source. It is the source that we are made of, that makes up this whole universe. And so when I talk about consciousness in business, I'm talking about using this deeper part of us to run our business versus our reactive, finite personalities, right? Because our personalities have been formed by the past and then inform the future.
That's
And it's
right.
very finite. And so the second part to your question is like, how did I start using that? Well, first of all, you and I both went to healing school. And I think that we both understood that to not use consciousness in business is like, wait, what? Like, why wouldn't you use infinite wisdom that is accessible to us, that in my experience has the highest benevolence, the highest brilliance, the highest wisdom? Why wouldn't I use that as
Yes.
my foundation in how to run my business? Because I know that when I just connect to my personality, right, I look at facts from the
Yes.
past and what do other businesses do. My creativity is so limited. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll pause there for now and just check in with you, and then I can tell you the story of when I actually decided to make God my CEO. And it's a
Oh,
slightly
I can't
separate
wait to
story.
hear that as well. But I want to talk about something that you brought up that I think is wicked important. And one of the things that is differentiated right here, and I know it's kind of all in one, but I'm going to use a little bit of duality right now and talk about the personality self in business, that personality self that has the thinking mind and the ego, and that kind of just runs everything and it runs it amok. This is where most people do their business from. And even though they want to be conscious about their business or use consciousness, a lot of people don't know the difference between their personality self and their inner higher self, the actual thing that you are. So part of the distinction that I thought was really beautiful. Yes, I know. I have to pop over to Larissa here. God, my CEO. I love that.
Yeah, we'll
So
talk
do
about
I.
that, Larissa.
We're going to be right there, man. This is it. This is it. This is why you got up at dark 30 in the morning. Uh, so what happens is when we get to the point where we are understanding the difference between what is running us and how it's running us, I know that there is so much more ease for me when I allow myself to run from that connected source place in my business or in anything. Everything about my day is moving, listening, observing, witnessing, talking or speaking. This is my happy place right here that we're at. And I think the part that you just brought up, I would like a little more expanding on when you say your personality self versus, let's say, your divine self, so that we have an understanding of the two together,
Goodness gracious, you literally ask like such ginormous questions that people have been debating for thousands of years. I'm like, oh, she wants me to answer that now. Uh, my experience of myself is that I am a soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is part of a universal soul, right? And I'm an individualized soul that comes into this planet. And then I often, life usually disconnects me from that soul. Like I learn as a human being to learn to use my neocortex, my thinking rational brain. I learn my mom tells me men are good. My father
Yeah,
tells me work is hard, like whatever it is. So my personality is the one that absorbs often from the outside world what the rules are of the
that's
game
right.
of the world. And if we disconnect that from the soul, then it becomes, like I keep using the word finite, because it has only absorbed information from the external world to become, I'm a mother, right? I'm a daughter, all the things, all the identity. And it's again, it doesn't have access to this much broader realm that is our soul, that has access to infinite wisdom, which is what the universal soul is. And so it's wonderful, it's wonderful to use our personality as our servant. The
That's
problem
right.
is when the personality becomes the master
You
and
got
thinks
it.
it's the only thing that rules it. Like if God tells me, right, part of my 3 steps is like I listen to God, I take action upon what I hear, and then I let go of outcome. And we'll slow the 3 steps down. But the second one is I act upon what I hear. Well, that's my personality, right? If God says, Vicky's invited you to this radio show, I check in with myself. Yes, I'm going to do that. So I use my personality to write you back to make sure I get on Zoom, on the call on time. The personality is fabulous. It just shouldn't be running the show.
Exactly. And that's such an incredible thing. I have a new book called The Secret Joy of You. And in that side of that secret joy of you, that place of joy, is exactly that place. I'm sorry, I just have to pop in. Hi, I love you, Karen.
Hi,
Thank
Karen.
you for joining us for today. Look who I have on. Look who I have on.
Hi, Karen.
We are talking about consciousness in business. I want to tell you something. I want to get practical for a second, because what she gave you was such a big idea. But I will tell you, every time that I have successfully, and I'm 13 businesses, I have built and flipped and sold 13 businesses now. I have 35 books under my belt. When I get to the point where I'm doing these kinds of things, every time I listen to that inner voice that she just talked about, I succeed, I have good profit margins, and things happen correctly. Every time peacefully. And if I don't listen to that, I have power struggle and angst and anger and this and that. And the deal doesn't go well. But if I listen to it and it says, do the deal with this person, co-write the book with this person, do this with this person, every time I do it, every time I surrender, because I want to talk about that part of it, every time I surrender to that guidance, I have to get out of the way. My personality has to get out of the way and receive. It has to receive in that way, to the point where you're giving in and surrendering. So what is it that we say? The heart has no questions and your mind has no answers. And that in that place, that's where the source or God as your CEO can enter. And I love the point when we look at how we create from this place, how you surrender from this place. Do you know, Isabelle, how many people in the world have had this God as your CEO guide them into their success? What if there was a path already made for you? If you're listening in the car, relax. That you can watch the replay. You don't have to make notes. It's all there. We'll put all the links in. It'll be all good. But what if there was already a path of success designed for you? What if it's already there and all you have to do is surrender to the process?
Yeah. So there's so many points that you just, let me take a moment to reconnect to myself. So one of the things I want to make sure, for some people, right, calling it God or calling it source doesn't work. So we can also call it intuition, because everybody knows what intuition is, right? It's the one that tells you, oh, I'm so glad, I thank you, Karen. Intuition, right? It's this voice that we hear when it tells us, don't cross the street right now, or answer the phone right now. So we all know, right? For those of you who are saying, well, what does she mean by God? So we can call it intuition too. And one of the things for me, so about 6 months ago, I was really trying to figure out, right, which is the personality, which is the analytical self, like what I wanted for my business, like how big, because some people are saying, Isabelle, I think your business can be 20 to $40 million. And I'm like, well, I don't know if I want a business that big, because what will it entail? Will I have to work really hard? And will I have to work 60 years? I don't want that. I want a life that feels good, that has spaciousness, where I have time for me and for source and for my family. And then I suddenly heard this voice that said, well, do you know what God, source, intuition wants for you? And I was like, oh, I have no clue. And for me, that means what is the highest outcome for this business? If I want to serve something greater than me, do I know what that something greater for me wants for me and my business? And it was no. And I was like, I'm so excited to find out. And so I have made a commitment to literally do these 3 steps. So I'm going to slow them down. So by putting God as my CEO, right? Literally God, source, is my CEO. And I do this all day long. I listen to what God tells me, which is a whole lifetime of practice of work, right? You and I have been practicing for 30 years. Like, how do we listen to our intuition, to God? Then I take action upon what I hear, because so often we hear, make this phone call, write this email, do this video, and we're like, oh, I'll do it later, right? Write this blog, right? Do you know how many thousands of blogs God has told me to write? And then I'm like, I'll do it later. And then it's gone. The idea is gone, right? And so take action upon, because the personality gets in
Yes.
the way of that, right? That's related to your surrender. It goes, no, I don't want to do it. I'm too tired. What will people think? Like, whatever it is. And then the third step, which is also just as hard and simple, but hard, let go of outcome. One of my favorite stories is I heard God say, do a live on your business page. Now, my business page has no one on it, right? Because I have not been cultivating it, but I was trying to build it. So I do this beautiful meditation. And I open my eyes, and there's 3 people on the live. And my personality, my ego is like, oh my God, this is worth nothing. Why am I doing this? Why am I spending all this time? 2 hours later, I get a messenger from somebody who said, my husband just tried to kill himself. He's in the hospital. Because of your meditation, I was able to stay calm and peaceful with all this turbulence. And so I'm getting a chill,
Ooh,
right?
me
Because I know
too. All up my back of my
me too.
head. Chill, chill, chill.
Ooh. So it's like, that's the let go of outcome. So often in our business, if we're coaches or whatever we are, entrepreneurs, we don't often always see the direct outcome that the ego, that the personality is tracking. My
That's
personality
right.
was tracking numbers, that
That's
was the
right.
success. God's success was, I helped this wife stay peaceful and centered when her husband had just tried to kill himself. And
Yeah.
so those are the 3 steps, and all of them require surrender, right? I've got to trust, and I've come to that after a lifetime of not trusting, that this benevolent source greater than me has a much higher wisdom, knowledge about what's supposed to happen to my business and to my life than I ever could. Yeah, Robin says my hair is standing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Practicing God is like strengthening muscles every single day.
For sure.
Amen. Amen.
For sure. I
You
love
know,
that.
I want to say that my whole body is still chills and awake. And you said something I really want to iterate. Also, I have to pop in here. Hello, my loves. Amber Mirza. So nice to see you. My internet is being glitchy, but I'm here. I'm so glad you're here, because this conversation is definitely for you. And you two should meet, by the way. You have another,
I
outlet.
trust that.
Just
She
saying
she
that.
just heard something. She just got the insight. That's how she
Yes,
runs her business.
that's right. Now, what the thing is the thing that you just said about separating the personality. I want to let you know something right now. As a futurist, I'm going to tell you this straight up front. You are at the beginning, at the beta curve of how marketing is going to shift. And I want you to be very, very aware of this. And I'm telling you right now, so when it happens, you see it. You will be aware that marketing is going to shift from this bro marketing, hustle, grind, FOMO, this and that, to this connective, God source marketing where personality and your inner self, these 2 things are going to align, and you're going to be speaking to people authentically. The next big wave, you know how Brene Brown came out with vulnerability, and Louise Hay, you can heal your life, and Barbara Brennan with hands of light, these buzzwords, these big things in healing. The next big healing wave is going to be exactly what she's talking about. And it is going to be, is your company, are you a source-led business? Is God the CEO of your company? And it's going to come out in your message. It's going to come out in your languaging, in your tone, in your marketing. It is going to infuse itself into society in such a way over the next, I would say 3 years is my guess. 3 years, it is going to be the wave of how business is going to be done online. And I want to let you know, that's why I said this is a breakthrough conversation that we're having right now. A very leading edge breakthrough conversation. It's going to be the leadership inside your business. It's going to be the decisions at your boardroom. All of these things right now, it is that the personality is to assist you, not be you. You are not the personality. The personality is the thing that assists you. And the you that you are is the soul of you. And it's everything that's going to have that. Your company is going to have a soul. Its brand is going to be the soul of your company. Everything about what we're talking about is here now in the future. I see you guys coming on. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I want to tell you, this is what is going to be happening. Woohoo, love that. Authentically sharing your message rather than manipulation and pressure. Yes, it is. And let me tell you something. If you understand God as your CEO, which we're going to go deeper into, God knows who your clients are too. He knows the perfect time they're going to get
and
to
how
you.
to ping them, right?
Yes, ping
Like,
them.
it's not like you were saying about manipulation. It's so funny because I just did this 10-day breakthrough challenge to invite people into my course. And we had hired a salesperson that really helped me in many, 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 many ways until it came to the sales time. And she wanted me to do sales the bro way, right? Like that, literally to point out the pain point, which is what old marketing is, to point out and play on people's pain points to sell them. And I would have so much anxiety every time that I was supposed to introduce the sales because it felt so painful to me. My whole work is about helping people feel more good, feel more God, right? My brand is called A Feel Good Life. And to purposely manipulate people's pain point, like you were saying, FOMO and all that stuff, literally is incongruent with every cell of my being. And I want to say something, Vicky. I know you called it a breakthrough talk, but you and I were saying this before the call. Like, a part of me wants to cry right now because I don't talk about this to many people. You know, my whole company, every single person that works for me and with me has agreed to make God their CEO, not just because they're working with me for me, but also because they believe in that. So that's the other piece with creating companies. It's not just me. It's not me as me who's the sub CEO who's using God. It's like, if you want to work with me, for me, you also have to show up as that. And we are not talking about being passive here, Vicky and I.
That's right.
To me, what that means when God is my CEO, apart from the 3 steps, I'm constantly looking, am I congruent? Am I ethical? Am I at the highest frequency? Am I creating loving relationships with whoever I run into? So it's a lot of work, right? This is what's so cool about this, is that, like you were saying earlier, this isn't just about God's SEO in my professional life, and then I can be an asshole in my personal life, or I can be an asshole with my employees, right? But I'm listening to God, you know. I have to embody being a servant, which is a funny word, but I think I take it in a way that's not servile, but to being a servant of God, of love, right? And of being the highest frequency we can be.
Amber says, I want him to be my lead pilot, but I'll take him in any capacity he likes. That's surrender right there. You know, when it's thy will be done, not my will be done. And that's the biggest shift that's going to be happening in business. In business, it has been my will be done, my wants, my needs, my this. And it is going to shift from that my will be done to thy will be done. And it is going to penetrate everything. It's going to penetrate how we do finances, how we do politics, how we do relationships. It is the thing that is birthing itself on the planet right now, is the consciousness and the difference and the understanding between the soul, you as a soul, because that's what you are, and the personality, that personality part that you are. And so you're asking, what's the difference? How do I know the soul from the personality? I have my thoughts of it. I definitely want to hear yours, but the personality is simply like the color of my hair. Everything that dies when you die is the personality. Everything that survives and lives, everything that survives and lives is you.
That is so beautiful. I was like, how the heck is she going to answer that? And guys, so it's not what Vicky said applies to everything, because it's not just hair color. It's the beliefs. I'm a mother. That dies when I won't be a mother anymore. I'll be a soul.
You won't be a woman. You won't be a man. It all dies. Everything that dies when you die is your personality. Everything that lives when you die. It's in my new book.
Love, compassion, peace.
Yes.
Empathy. Oh, that's gorgeous. I'm stealing that one.
Thank you. You can steal it.
Naming you
You
as
can steal it. Yes, but you're friend enough, you can steal it. Who is this Facebook user? Thank you for being here. Yes, thy will be done. That's right. And it's an interesting thing, because for me, what the personality, you said this earlier, and I want to go deeper. And you guys, if you have any questions for Isabelle, I don't want to be like, I'll hog all of her attention, ask all the questions. But if you have something you want to say or ask Isabelle, feel free to put it in there. I promise I will share it with her. And I want to continue on. So one of the interesting things is the personality, my personality, I'm going to just say that. The reason it likes to be in charge is because it lacks trust. It lacks trust in the divine. For some reason, my mind says, well, they ain't got your back. Let me tell you something. They ain't got your back. But then the soul of me, if I listen to it, it says, I may not know all of what God is, but he spends a lot of time looking after Vicky Helm. And the trust factor, the ego, that to me is something that we have to look at, kind of maneuver, learn to work with, so that we can allow ourselves to receive. The first place you have to receive from is the divine. And how do we create trust with God as our CEO when our mind wants to go, but, or wait. How do can we begin to influence ourselves in the inner direction?
Well, I have a really easy answer. Just count on the fact that your brain, your personality will likely, it's not even never trust. I think you can develop trust, but we'll never understand it. It's like talking about apples and oranges. You and I are both energy healers, right? We've been trained in that. So I have done thousands of energy healings where I've seen
thousands of hours
passed on, right? Yep. I can work with cellular DNA. I can see angels. I can see God. My mind has never once believed what I have seen and known, even with astounding proof, like your grandma is Elizabeth and she loved roses. Oh my God, how did you know that? My mind is still like, that's all bullshit. So it's like trying to get your mind to understand the realm of the divine is not worth your time. Just count on the mind never getting it. But count on, start trusting that if you listen to something deeper, because we all have enough experiences in life by the time we get to a certain age where we're like, God, every time I didn't listen to my intuition, something didn't work out as well. And every time I listened to that inner voice, my life worked better. So I think we all develop enough experiences to know that. So just count on your mind never understanding what the divine knows, how the divine knows what it knows. It's insane how the divine, the mind,
the mind can't grasp it.
The mind
it just can't grasp it.
Exactly. And you don't waste any time trying to grasp it, because you're just wasting time. That's really the point that I'm trying to make.
So amazing. So amazing. I love that you said that. And it's interesting because you would really understand it as long as you understand what the mind doesn't understand. Like, the mind doesn't understand, the mind can't help you fall in love. Like, the mind doesn't fall in love. The mind, when you fall in love, something in your heart region explodes. It's not your mind that explodes. So your mind doesn't understand certain things. It just won't, it doesn't. And that is something that we have to accept. Now, I want to talk about, I'm so excited. There's so many questions I have floating around, and I want to make sure that I go back to the three things, because the reason I want to go back to those is because I want people to really understand them on a deep personal level. Like when they leave this show today, and if you're driving, just relax. It's all going to be, you can hashtag replay. It's okay. But you get to the point where when you get these three things in order for yourself, and they're simple, but they're so profound in their simplicity as to what they can bring you. And I want to go back. If God is your CEO, I want to talk about, obviously, the letting go of outcome. It's not just listening, but when we get to the letting go of outcome, let's really dive into how you do that, why you do that, because I know that you went over it and you gave this really beautiful example. And I am wondering if we can get just a practical business example, because I know you pour your heart into what you do. There's such creativity, and it becomes your baby. And that's part of the attachment trap that can mislead you.
Yeah, I have a good, so thank you for that. I have a really good example. So when I did this breakout challenge, so in February, I did a 10-day breakthrough challenge. Sorry about that. And so my mind had decided that there were going to be 1,000 people in the challenge. My mind had decided that there would be 100 people who would sign up for the course. And so that's what my mind had decided, right? It was like the business plan that my mind had decided. And so as I got to 300 people signing up, 400 people signing up, 500 people, like my mind kept being like, well, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. We're not at 1,000 yet. And when 48 people signed up for the course, my mind was disappointed because I didn't meet the numbers. Now, let me tell you about what's happening in the course right now. We're halfway through the course. Not only is it extraordinary what is happening in the course with each participant, but I went from a much smaller group to triple the size in the course, because I've always been a private practitioner. Running a course is newish for me. It's only the last couple of years. I've had to train facilitators. So there's 7 facilitators running the course that I'm having to supervise. They have been a handful of incredibly emotional people in the course that have started to make things really difficult, that have required a lot of attention. And had we had more people, had I had the 100 people that I thought I should have, we would have probably created something really turbulent for our company.
Yes.
And the number of people that showed up and how we have grown and adapted. I'm ready for 100 for the next one, which we're running in August. But so it's like, and the suffering, right? It's like, when you do weight loss and you're trying to get to a certain amount of pounds, and if you don't get there every day, you get on the scale and you freaking get depressed, right? And even when you get to that number, you're not satisfied, because the ego will never be satisfied. How many times have we even reached the numbers that our ego has told us and actually be like, oh wait, I really wanted to lose 5 more pounds, right? The ego will never be satisfied, and the ego does not know what's best for us. The ego did not know what was best for me for this breakthrough challenge and my course. God knew. And the moment I let go of that, first of all, damn, freaking 46 people are literally having their lives change. Why the frick did I think that it had to be 100 to be good enough? right? And we would have literally messed up our business. So I think
Yeah.
that's a good example. What do you think?
I absolutely think that's the perfect example because we have to understand how our mind sabotages us being present to the perfection of what is in the moment. And that's such an impressive example. I want to pop over here and say hi to Sean. You only control the choices about what steps you take. You don't control what happens from the stepping. Yes, that's very true. We
That's
think we
it.
do. Let go of the results and focus and just take the steps that you feel could take you in the direction you want to go. I want to let you know this is such a powerful, yes, I loved this as
I want to say
well.
one thing though to Sean.
Yeah.
The one word that the one part of the sentence I would change, Sean, I love it, what you said, is the final part of your sentence. Thank you for showing it to me again. I was like, oh my God, why will I remember? It's just take the steps that you feel could take you in the direction you want to go. Where the only difference that I have in that place is to take the steps that God is telling me the direction I want to go. One of the things, right, when I decided to make God my CEO, like really, really, so every morning and every night I have a business meeting with God and I check out how I did the 3 steps. Just like if I had another CEO and I was an employee, right, I'm getting supervised by God. Did I take the 3 steps? How did it go? And what I realized, Sean and everybody, was that even if my business fails, if I've done the 3 steps and listened to God as the CEO, I will completely trust that, right? So I
Amen.
believe God knows that, because that would mean that that was not the direction I was supposed to go. Now, my ego would freak out, but it was the direction. When I surrender that and I trust God's direction for me, it becomes a completely different experience. So, how does that land, Sean, for what I'm saying? I'd love to hear you back.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for that. I loved this saying, the ego will never be satisfied. That's so true.
ever.
Larissa says, it's in our society, more, better, more numbers, more impressive. Yes, we think that is there, but we're building a business. And what is inside a business? Because I've done it both ways. I remember the first time you say, I want to be a millionaire, and you start, making all these, I want to be a millionaire, 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 and you're not allowing it to happen. Somehow we think that what God wants and what we want are two different things. The day I found out that what God wants and what I want are the same thing, it was surrendering to my having it, not surrendering in a weak way where I'm throwing in the towel and I quit. Surrendering is a form of allowing. It is allowing the receiving receptors to and trusting. And that co-creative process is what it's just beautiful. Every night, I start every morning that way. I sit down with the divine and I have something that I say to myself every single morning. And that is the first thing: I am soul, I am consciousness, I am. I'm
Mm.
all things. I'm first cause. And I am, it's like when you get it to the point where you understand that your soul and your first cause, you're unconditional. And I always say, I always live in the higher states of consciousness. I'm always willing to be a channel for the divine. Guide me to where I'm going today. Guide me as to how my day is going to unfold. And I absolutely trust it. I trust the design of every single guest when they arrive on the show. If somebody leaves and I have to enter a guest, I don't panic. I'm like, oh, it's not time for this conversation. We have the actual conversation that's supposed to have. When you surrender like that, I will tell you what happens. You lower your stress. That's the first thing that happens. You up your success. You start looking at what is working and what not, and move your mind from what you think should be working.
Here we
It's the
go.
should be working that is there. What is working, and the success that leaves clues in that area. When we talk about being conscious in business or bringing consciousness to business, as a leader, she's a CEO, she's got people, businesses, etc. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about consciousness in your leadership of your team and the direction of your company when it comes to being the CEO and surrendering, or, God is your CEO? How is it? Do you have a set of values? How is it that you run your company? Is it like, do you plan a 90-day plan? Do you allow what's coming in to shift? Or how do you run that as a CEO, as a leader in your own company?
That's a great question. So there are two different things that I thought you were answering, and because I like both ways that I think you were asking, I will answer both. So one is, many of you who have seen me on this show know the work that I do. That's the triangle. That's called the feel good scale. And my work is about helping you get out of the red zone, which is the stress response, and to shift into the green zone, which is the relaxation response. And in that green zone, in that relaxation response, we are reconnected to peace and love and joy and compassion and empathy and creativity. So in terms of how I run my business with my team, our commitment is always to only work from the green zone, because the stress response, another way that I call that red zone or that stress response, is I call it the separation response. Joe Dispenza actually says the same thing. When we are in the stress response, the two sides of our brain are separated. They don't talk to each other. And we literally see the world dualistically. You are my enemy that I have to compete against. So everything we do, every decision we make, every way we interact with each other, we first have to make sure we're in the green zone before making those decisions, before engaging in sometimes difficult conversation. So that is the greatest mission of each and every one of us. And then your second question was like, how do you decide? Yeah, like, I knew I was going to do this breakthrough challenge. That was a 10-day challenge. I knew I was going to do the 3 months course after that. And then I knew I was going to enroll people to become certified facilitators. So there was a 6 month plan, and we're going to do that 6 month plan twice a year. The part where I surrendered was how it was going to be successful, including if it wasn't. Right? Like, I surrendered. The only thing I knew is I'm going to follow this plan. I'm going to listen to who God tells me to invite as my guest speakers for my breakthrough challenge, to trust who to call that I think would be a good participant in the course, right? Every step of the way of the implementation of the business plan was listened to. I listened to God, and then did the 3 steps with that. So let's say I felt like Susie Q. I heard, reach out to Susie Q. She might be a good participant, right? So I called Susie Q. Step number 1, I listened. I took action. I called Susie Q. Then let go of outcome. And Susie Q goes, you know what? I can't do it this year. Hopefully I'll be able to do it next year. If I just listened to my ego, and the outcome was Susie Q has to be in the course, I would be devastating hanging up the phone. But like you, I'm like, oh, I guess Susie Q was not supposed to be in the course. And how often have people come back 6 months later and be like, I'm so ready for the course. I would have been a disaster had I done it 6 months ago. So the structure is there, the business plan, but then how I implement it is through the 3 steps.
Oh my gosh, that made my hair stand up. Like, my heart is really tender right now, because the ease of that is just, oh God, that just feels so, it was enriching. I could hear that all over again. Sean has replied, and I want to share his reply with you. I agree with your response. The motivation that influences our choices of what steps to take include the emotional awareness of how we feel about the direction the step could take us in. The source of that feeling isn't as important as surrendering, yes, to the feeling as the influence of doing what you should instead of you understanding ahead of time. Oh, that is so beautiful. I want to tell you, my dedication to this particular, I want to let you know I'm really tender. I'm in a space, the thing I'm probably passionate. No, the thing I want to go for it. The thing I'm passionate about.
Oh, no, and slow it down, meaning like share with us what's happening.
Yes, I have this very tender heart. When you get to the point where you're talking about living, being, and working from this level of awareness, this level of consciousness, and the ease by which things happen. Because, everybody talks to me like I'm born with a silver spoon in my mouth or whatever it is. And I think to myself, the work I did was vastly different. Do I have business skills? Yes. Yes, I do. But I added the spiritual skills, which has made my business easier. That's the thing that is there. They're both work. It's the work no matter what. It's why you're here anyway. And I use business because it helps me awaken. It shows me the obstacle of where I'm blocked. The first thing that happens is the thing that has been stopping you your whole life shows up. After you have God as your CEO, I let go of constantly personally developing in a way that is what I call pop psychology. I don't run up poles. I don't run through coals. I don't scream and jump. And, I am very insular, very inward listening and focused. When you're connected to God, what else do you need? It's like that. Everything that is the obstacle from achievement at this point is because we do not allow. And when you allow because God's just going to hang out and wait, source, whatever you want to call it, with source, whatever it is, intuition, whatever it is, when you get that nudge and you listen to it, it will shift you in that way.
I want to add an and to what you're saying. Actually, I want to make sure people don't misunderstand something that could be easy to misunderstand. Mm-hmm. Listening to God as the CEO, it is primarily an internal practice.
Yes.
And for example, right before this woman who had the idea of this breakout challenge came, I said to God, to Spirit, I'm ready. I'm ready to grow this work bigger. Mm-hmm. Within a week, this woman came in and literally blew up our business through this thing. She had the greatest idea about how to grow the course. So I want to make sure that we don't miss out, that sometimes God comes in the form of the right people coming to tell us something, right?
Just like that.
Exactly. So it's not just we go into a cave and meditate, even though that's a big piece, right? Like you said, me too, every morning, every night, I reconnect. And then even, let's say this woman, her name is Jolie, right? When she came in, said, this is my idea. Then I had to go into my metaphorical cave and say, is this the right fit, God? Did you send her to me, right? But I just want to make sure people know, Vicki and I are not insular in what it means to listen to God as our CEO. Does that fit for you? I want to make sure that I'm not speaking for you.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. It's and she knows me well enough so much that she probably could speak that and I'd be like, yeah, I agree with that. Larissa, thank you for this. When I realized that everything is possible, I let God in. Woo! That's beautiful. It's
really beautiful. And I think that the piece related to that, Larissa, is that, and everything is like, I really literally 100% trust that even if this business were to fail, I have such absolute trust these days that I would see that as benevolent, and I would trust without a doubt that that was the highest form of love coming my way. And then instead of lamenting, I can have grief around if my business were to fail, but instead of lamenting and whining and being stuck in like, why did this fail? I'd be like, okay, what? Like I bring curiosity because I trust God so much, so that everything is possible. It doesn't mean I'm going to become Tony Robbins, even though that is one possibility, becoming a female Tony Robbins. Another possibility is my business failing and I might have a preference. My ego has a preference, of course, but I trust 100% what the outcome is if I've listened to God every step of the way. And that is so freaking relieving because you don't take actions based on fear. I don't take actions based on fear, like, oh, what if my business fails? I don't take those actions. And I think they drive a lot of our businesses, fear-based actions.
And that is, oh gosh, what you just said is so important. It's not just our businesses, it's our lives.
For sure.
And I want to say this because this is the premise and theory that I go on. There right now is a propaganda war that is out, and it hooks the personality so much, that propaganda war, and it is all fear-based. Fear-based advertising, fear-based news, fear-based education. It's very, very fear-based. And removing ourselves, and I want to say it's an assault. It's not like in the 40s where propaganda was, out of a plane or used in wars and things like that. This is an all-out assault until the personality is confused. It doesn't know the difference between a fact and an alternative fact, the truth and an alternative truth, or what your own truth is. It's all out of you. None of it is inside you. And the only way out of this propaganda war is to be able to create some separation between you and that propaganda war. And that is coming inward. And I'm talking about stuff in my new book right now, but that inwardness, the only place that the direction of the future is going to be is inward, because outward is very confusing and chaotic right now. It's chaotic everywhere. And the messages are constantly at you. They're so fast. We've never had or lived in a time where messages come this fast, and we're not listening. The only place to move within, it's like if you want to find relief from it, you are being pushed inwardly, which is a good thing in my opinion. But in that inward place that we just talked about, with that piece of you that is letting and allowing source as your CEO, you'll find that source as your CEO works also in your day-to-day life. Just living, being, walking, working, doing everything where God is the CEO of your life, not just your business.
Correct.
And I think the peace I feel from allowing that, the peace I feel like my hair tingles, my neck is on fire, my heart is completely melted. I'm looking at everybody listening. I do want to say this though. I'm going to pop this over. She mentioned this earlier, and I want to put this up. This is the last show we did where she talks about that red, yellow, green zone. It's a very masterful technique to be able to help yourself move. It's there. But she has a program where you can literally learn how to do this, get this certified. Watch the video right there. All of the details are in that video. So if you're driving and you're listening and you heard about the stress reset program, and you were thinking, ooh, I want to be a part of that, that's great. The links are in there. Just relax. You can go and hit that Facebook and become the Success Secrets Business, Family, and Life channel. It's going to be right there. Robin, would you pop it up today so they can see previous and the next iteration of that show, so they can see first part 1, part 2, and there'll probably be a part 3 and a part 4, because it's just what's here now. And we'll have her on like at least quarterly.
Yeah, and I want to bring an example that's just happened to me about a personal life. So I just moved to Montana in September from Boulder.
I know.
And I moved because I have a new grandson. One of my kids out of 3 kids have moved here. And so my daughter's husband also has his family here, and also has a mother and a father here. And from the beginning, my daughter and her husband have been very clear about how important it is that we get along, the 2 sets of parents get along. And so I'm going to try to make the story short. Turbulence just occurred this weekend for the first time, where his mother is upset at something that has happened that I did, that literally she's literally frozen me out. She's actually not talking to me. She did not talk to me the whole birthday party for this miscommunication that occurred that wasn't even my fault. So I reached out to her the next day, and she actually still hasn't texted me back.
Wow.
So ego, I can't believe it. You see, I knew it all along. She's been like this. She's competitive. And my friend, oh my God, and Isabel, it's because you're so powerful and you scare her. That's all the ego, right?
Yeah.
I dropped into meditation yesterday morning and I just said to God, how can I see this? We'll call it through your eyes. I call it also from the green zone, right? And then I was shown, I was dropped into a deeper level where I felt her. And I felt that there's an old story about her being hurt by certain things. And I just talked to her and I said, yeah, isn't it hard to be two matriarchs together that are having to
Yeah.
share this grandson? And I had the most exquisite experience. But my point is, because I'm so committed to God being my CEO everywhere, when I notice my ego taking over, it's immediate that I feel
Yes.
the tension, right?
Yes,
I
me too.
feel the judgment. And I can't. It's not even I don't want to. I don't want to be that person living in that frequency anymore. And it's become
Yes.
automatic that it doesn't work with me anymore. And I ask for God to show me what the world looked like through God's lens. And so this is all my work and it's all your work, right? That's the red zone, green zone. It teaches us to change our homeostatic frequency so that having God as our CEO becomes automatic. And when we forget, it's so painful that we don't want to do it anymore. And that's freaking exciting because I don't have to work at it anymore. It just doesn't
Yes,
feel right when I'm not
that's
in that
right.
frequency.
I was talking to a friend, a really dear friend of mine, and she was telling me, and we were telling each other, I don't do anything in business without that inner voice telling me what to do. I don't do anything. And she's the same way. And I was noting that the alignment is so strong now that even a sliver being in that alignment is so painful. You immediately stop and pull it out. I mean, it can be the tiniest
So
little,
fast.
you're in that zone and you live in that zone and it feels so good and it's in your life and you have that alignment every day. And the second that sliver, it's just right away. And this is the point right here, because for me, the object of living in this lifetime is so that I know how to walk off the field with my ego or my head in my hand, so to speak. It's where I know how to manage my ego so well that it dissolves into its higher self, because I believe that moving from that shadow realm, I want to use the map of consciousness by David Hawkins, but I don't know if everybody knows it. But walking yourself up that ladder of consciousness, when you get into that higher self realm where you're more surrendered, you're more malleable somehow as a personality, not just your soul, and your soul starts to transform and take over instead of your mind and everything else pushing down on your soul and saying, no, you can't be here. The more that transformation takes place, the more present, real presence and ease becomes your life. It's not that you don't have obstacles. It's that you know when to ask for help and try not to solve it yourself. It's there to teach you something, learn something. It's there to advance your soul that next step up so that there's more observer and wakefulness. But instead, a power struggle, which is where most people are at the power struggle with the self and the soul, power struggling back and forth, there's a sense of being able to walk through any perceived obstacle. And I think that was the perfect example of that. Being able to even say, I can talk to you without you being present in front of me.
Mhm. And my
That's,
heart softened, right? My
oh,
heart
yeah.
suddenly softened. So the way, if she ever gets back to me, if I decide to reach back out to her,
Mm-hmm.
I know my energy will be completely different than like, I can't
Mm-hmm.
believe she shut me out for that, right? And I wrote a little post the other day about what if we were to say thank you to everything that comes our way, right? And that's what you're talking about is like
Yeah.
everything, like my she's not my mother-in-law, whatever we call her, thank you for doing that, because there's so many gifts that came out of her freezing me out, and like, thank you when we overcook our dinner, thank you for traffic, because everything becomes a moment in which you get to decide if you want to be red zone, stress response, reactive, or if you want to be green zone. Every moment is an opportunity to decide how you want to show up in your life. And the more we get the triggers, the more difficult, the more powerful the transformation is. And so how can we not be grateful? It's almost like hiring a workout coach. We would never want the workout coach to just give us really easy exercises. That's not going to make our body change, right? We say thank you for making us run a run that we really don't want to do, because we trust the workout coach knows that it is by challenging ourselves that we become better. So I really like that. Actually, I like that metaphor.
I do too. I'm going to put this out because we're getting at the top of the hour, and I want a little time with her before she has to go and do her day as well. But I'm going to plant the seed right now. I'm going to plant the seed that's going to grow. We've talked about this and we've talked about this, but now I'm going to germinate the seed. We will be writing a book together about what we just talked about. I'm planting the seed in the soil right now, and I'm watering it because now we've stated it on the Coffee Break Show. We will be talking more deeply about this. I do want to tell you that we put in the thread part 2 of this. And before
I actually want to say something about what you just said. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. So
you go
the way
right ahead.
that works, right? So Vicky and I had only vaguely talked about it. We talked a few days ago. We finally got together. And then we both like, okay, we're gonna wait and see what God does, right? So we are like that. We were like, well, that's an interesting idea for us to co-write a book, but let's just wait and see. And Vicky has written 35 books. I never assumed she's just gonna want to co-write a book with me. And then, as we were talking 10 minutes ago, Spirit showed me, I had a very clear thing, and I heard the voice say, this is why I canceled the guest that was supposed to be on. And this is why you guys worked it out that it was you today, because you guys are going, this is us, Spirit saying, you guys are co-writing the book. And I remember hearing that 10 minutes ago, and I was like, shit, I got to spend some time with Vicky after. I hope she thinks that too, because again, I would never disrespect Vicky and like push her. And so the fact that you're saying, but that is how God works, right? Yeah. So it's not only like God took away the guest that was supposed to be there, put us there, and then made me see the breadcrumb that it happened for a reason, because that was the intention. And then I thank God got the confirmation from Vicky, who also put the seed. So that's how it works. I wanted to show people in real time how that works.
That's good. That is how it works. Yes. And I want to go through these right here. This is the other place where the stress reset is. August, I'm going to have her back because she's going to be, I'll probably have July, because she's going to be starting the program in August. And I want you guys to be able to hear about it. We'll talk about it. We'll have a whole show on it so that you can do that. Meanwhile, down below here is that link. If you guys haven't hooked up with Isabelle, just find her Facebook page.
Yeah, and go to the hold on. I will put it in the post, because I want them to go in the breakout challenge group, because that's
great.
Where it's
Robin,
it's a
would you
Facebook
put
group.
The breakout challenge group link in there
The
so everybody
breakthrough.
can see it?
You know what?
The Feel Good Breakthrough.
It's because we now have breakout rooms in our course. That's why I keep calling, Zoom, you can do breakout rooms. So it's the Feel Good Breakthrough Challenge. I will put the link to the Facebook group
Thank you.
in the thread, okay?
Thank you. That'd be great. Yes, that's what I want. I don't want to be that person living in that frequency anymore. Yes. And you're right. It feels just like this. The cactus needle effect. Tiny irritant, big impact.
Big impact.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Here's the ladder of consciousness that Vicky referred to. Thank you very much for putting that. And Larissa, thank you for being here. Learn more. Unlovable. This is our earth journey. Yes. Learn, love, unlovable. This is our earthly journey. Yes, learn to love ourselves so deeply and really passionately. Isabelle, thank you so much. Always so inspiring.
Thank you,
right?
Robin.
Right? What an amazing co-creation. Thank you. It is going to be an amazing co-creation. This is.
I'm a little concerned though, because you're a bit of a wallflower and I'm so high energy. I'm just not sure how we're going to co-create together. But
oh God, you're cracking me up. Here it is. Facebook Feel Good
Great.
Breakthrough
Thank you,
Challenge
Robin.
right there. This is where you want to connect with her. This is where you want to be now. If you're driving, if you're listening, relax. You don't have to write it down. It's there. Hashtag replay. I'm going to leave this as the last thing we do today. So all you have to do is go to the end of the show and her link is there. Facebookgroup.com groups, Feel Good Breakthrough Challenge. You will find me in there as well. Isabelle, always love having you on. Just love
great.
you as a person. Always one of my soul sisters. Just love having you in my life, period. Thank you.
Thank you for
all right,
having
you
me
guys,
on in this
there
conversation.
is. Thank you. You guys know what's next. We can't leave without the music, right? So here we are. See you guys later. Mwah!